Hello, my name is Monika Lewinsi. You can call me Ika. I from class B. Him the way Jesus should be recognized as a victim of sexual violence. The season of Lent is an invitation to the classes and to anyone else who wishes to do so, to reflect on the disturbing story of the torture and crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth as described in the New Testament. It is one of the most widely known and often retold stories in human history. Yet despite being read and remembered so often, there is a part of the story which typically receives little attention and minimal discussion: the stripping of Jesus. The Me Too movement has highlighted the prevalence of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and other sexual abuse experienced by women and girls in many different forms. It has also exposed the common tendency to deny, dismiss, or minimize the significance and impact of the disease experienced. The stripping of Jesus. With this in mind, during Jesus' present Lenten period, it seems explicitly appropriate to recall the stripping of Jesus and to name it from what it was intended to be, a forceful display of humiliation and gender-based violence, which should be acknowledged as an act of sexual violence and abuse. The idea that Jesus himself experienced sexual abuse may seem starting of shocking at first, but crucifixion was a super punishment, and the stripping and exposition of victims was not accidental or incidental element. It was a deliberate action that the Romans used to humiliate and degrade to those wishes to punish. It meant that the crucifixion was more than physical. It was also a devastating emotional and psychological punishment. The confusion is Christian art of covering Christ's nakedness on the cross with a purpose and understandably respond to the intent of Roman crucifixion. But this should not prevent us from recognizing that the historical reality would have been very different. This is not just a matter of courting the historical record. If Jesus is meant as a victim of sexual abuse, it could make a huge difference to how the cases age with movements like Me Too and how they form cases in wider society. This could contribute significantly to positive change in many cultures and especially in societies where the majority of people identify as Christian. Some skeptics might respond that stripping a prisoner might be a form of violence or abuse, but it is misleading to call this sexual violence or sexual abuse. Yet if the purpose was to humiliate the skeptic and expose him to the mockery by others, and if the stripping is and against his will and as a way to shame him in public, the recognizing it as a form of sexual violence, of sexual abuse, seems entirely justified. The way that the stripping of Vercingetorix, king of the Arverni, is depicted in the first episode of the first series of the HBO series Room is an example of this. The scene highlights the vulnerability of the naked prisoner who is stripped and exposed in front of the assembled ranks of hostile Roman soldiers. The power and control of Roman power is contrast with the vulnerability and fat submission of the prisoner. The scene also hit at the possibility of even greater sexual violence which might be in store. Combating stigma. Jesus' gender is central to research seeming and a willingness to recognize the sexual abuse to which he is subjected. Analysis of the gendering of nakedness by Margaret R. Miles demonstrate that we view male and female nakedness in biblical art in the Christian West. Miles argued that the naked male body represents glorious eclectic themes representing spiritual as well as physical suffering. Sexual abuse doesn't form part of the narrative of masculinity inherent in reputation of Jesus. Naked women, however, are immediately identified as sexual objects, seeks a moment a being for shall be stripped. They might be more recognizable as sexual abuse than the stripping of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew and Mark. If Christ was a female figure, with would he stated to recognize her order as sexual abuse? Some present the Christian are still reluctant to expect that Jesus was a victim of sexual violence and seem to consider sexual abuse as an exclusively female. We may not want to dwell on the disturbing indicative of crayfishes from the woodyard, but it is not right to forget about its computation either. The sexual abuse of Jesus is a missing part of Passion and Esther story retellings. In effort to recognize Jesus a victim of sexual violence to address the continuing stigma for those who experience sexual abuse exploited men. Learn others a period in which this stark reality of crucifixion might be recalled and connected to the important question that movements like Me Too are raising for the churches and for wider society, was which acknowledges the sexual abuse of Jesus first will be more willing to acknowledge sexual abuse in our own context. Some present-day Christians are still reluctant to accept that Jesus was a victim of sexual violence and seem to consider sexual abuse as an exclusively female experience. So, conclusion of the text, what is the idea of sexual harassment doesn't strike as shocking, especially regarding the Lord Jesus. From some people, it will lead to various views. Jesus was Christ a lot of abuse, but verbally and non-verbally. There are many assumptions that start with Jesus was crucified, including Jesus was crucified because he is considered a rebel and a trouble among in society. Thank you.